Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Couchside Cinema. I'm your host, Scotty Smith, and with me is Chris Bassetti.
Hi.
This is something new that we're starting. So we're going to start this episode out with we're talking about Shaun of the Dead. Originally, the plan was we were originally going to watch the 2003 Disney's Haunted Mansion, but Chris's player didn't like my disc, and so it kept spitting it out and saying, no, I don't like it. So we'll have to do that probably another time. We have with us a bunch of questions in a bowl, and I'm going to pick out four, Chris is going to pick out four, and we're going to basically, I'll answer my question and then ask him the question, vice versa type deal. So let's begin. Chris, you go pick. You pick
out four?
Yeah, you pick out four. And we don't know what these are.
These are all randomized.
These are all randomized. So we're going to see how this plays out. So I'll go first. First question. Did anyone's acting surprise you, better or worse than expected? This is a comedy, so I was expecting, some goofiness and everything like that. I wasn't expecting the main character, Shaun. He's played by, I forget his name.
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg, yeah. Simon Pegg. I liked his emotional performance that he gave. It was definitely something that was different from what I was expecting. Because when I first heard about the movie, I was over here and I was just like, oh, it's just a parody of, Dawn of the Dead and everything like that. So I was just like, okay, so this is going to be this kind of, goofy, kind of take on it and everything. But, there were some serious moments in there and I was like, okay, I didn't expect this. I didn't see it coming. What about you, Chris? What was your...
I think my take on the movie that I've seen a lot is that you could take a serious movie like Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead and make a spoof off of it and turn it into a comedy. And I think the way it was written and directed by Simon Pegg and the script was brilliant in the fact that you could just the jokes, the storyline, and the overall characters that were well thought out and written and directed were brilliant.
Is there any that surprised you, like with their acting, like better or worse or anything like that? Or
I think Bill Nye or Bill Nighy or however you say his name, I think was a very surprising character in there. It didn't surprise me with Simon Pegg or Nick Frost because they are both brilliant actors, but I think with Bill Nighy in that, I was not expecting his character, and he was, I think, funny and brilliant, and just I think his character was very well written.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's Bill. I think it is Bill Nye.
Bill Nye, yeah.
I think that's what. Yeah, I think that's how his name is. But yeah, no, that was definitely. I agree with you on that. Now you go with yours. I asked you right as you're taking a sip of your drink.
No, you're fine.
I asked you. I was just like, now, Chris, you.
No, you're good. So Scotty, what?
So you answer it first, and then I'll go after you.
So what's your bathroom break moment? The part you could miss and not care.
Was there a moment for you like that?
No, because I loved, I love Shaun of the Dead. There are parts that maybe I will say that like I forgot about and, that really did make me jump. But again, it's a really funny movie for people who have not seen it.
Yeah.
If you want a good comedy, I highly recommend it. But it doesn't lack it in its sense of comical or violence, but it is a really good film to watch.
Yeah, it threw me off because Chris here, he doesn't really like horror or anything like that. And
No.
so as I'm sitting down watching this movie, I'm just amazed. I'm just like, I'm watching some of this gore and everything go on, and I'm just sitting back and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a second, Chris is like completely fine. Like he's just sitting there. He's just watching this go down. Like there's a moment, in the movie where one of the characters, like they just open up his chest and they start like pulling out shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember just sitting there, just thinking, I was just like, what in the world? Like, Chris is fine with this. Like, but you know, but it worked. It worked. You know,
I will say I don't like I don't normally like gore or that extreme violence, but my one of my close friends had showed me this movie a long time ago, and I remember like at the very first time I saw it, I had jumped a couple times, but then I watched it a second time and remember laughing and realized how corny it was and cheesy it was, but it was a brilliant spin-off or comical satire to the classic zombie horror.
yeah, no, I don't think there was a moment for me personally where I felt like that there was like a bathroom break moment where I was like, I wasn't interested, because I was interested in what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I found myself just like watching it, just kind of going, well, what are they gonna do next? Like, what are they gonna like kind of like reference, or what are they gonna kind of do with it? All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, so what if the film was retold as a musical? After watching the movie, you know, I kind of sat back and I was like, listen, I could see someone like turning this into like a parody musical, and like maybe doing it like a jukebox musical type deal, where it's like you have a bunch of like popular, you know, tunes and everything playing. You know, they had music in the film that, you know, was popular, like for instance Queen.
Queen was in there.
Queen was in there and everything like that. So I could see them doing something like around that. Like, I wouldn't be too shocked if there was like a parody musical that someone in their basement has like written that they've like put on, you know, like for like their friends or something like that who are fans of the film. I wouldn't be too shocked about it. What about you, Chris? If it was told as a musical, like retold, like what would be your opinion on that?
If it was told as a musical, I think that you would have to pick the proper music that would fit with the film. And Queen does do that, but like you would need to figure out how you were setting it up as a musical, because you could see musicals like this, like there's two that are coming to mind. I can't think of the names of them, but that would be great. Like you could do Black Parade, or you could do something like Sweeney Todd, and doing along those lines. It could work, but you don't want to just pick any song and throw it into the mix, because I don't, that would be thought out.
Exactly. It needs to be like purely like thought out, because if not, then it's just not going to really work.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to consider it's a comedy, so it's like, it's one of those deals where it has to be a comedy musical, on top of that, which, has to really, you have to drive that home, and you need like some really talented writers to do that. All right, moving on to the next question.
So, one of the questions I wanted to ask was, were there practical effects that impressed you? So I think that from the makeup for the zombies, for the CGI, the makeup, right down to the prosthetics, were absolutely impressive for a comical film and a knockoff film of a zombie film. I think that the hours of makeup going into that were absolutely brilliant. As you were mentioning earlier about one scene of the guy getting his guts ripped out.
Yes. Yeah, no. The special effects, I was watching it go down. I was like, wow. I was like, they really went far with it. Because in that scene, it's that scene of that dude. He just gets his guts ripped out. And it's very comical, because at one point his arms just rip off and his legs come off as his friends are trying to like pull him back in. And it's one of those things where I just sat back and I just kind of was like, it's goofy as can be, but like it's like effective. Like it's very, like the effects look really good.
And it's also funny too, because a normal zombie movie you would like, oh well, they're just eating him, and they're going after the living and they're just eating them, whereas they took something that was supposed to be horror and they turned it into comical, where they're just then taking the limbs and beating the zombies over the head with them.
Yeah,
and even with a wiffle ball bat, for crying out loud. Like
yeah.
who beats a zombie to death with a wiffle ball bat?
No,
That
honestly.
that's just and a golf club like that just.
Now, golf club makes sense.
I mean, a golf club does
or a
make
bat,
sense.
or like a regular bat.
A
But
regular
yeah,
bat, a wiffle ball bat though. Who in their right mind?
well, we're not. Well, they're in like the UK, so
That's
you know,
that's true.
It,
It is British set.
It is
so
British,
yes.
so yeah.
Yes.
Moving on to the next question. Let me see. What do we got? What do we got? All right, this one's a twofer actually. What if the story was told from a different character's POV? Who would you pick and why? For me, if it was told from a different character's POV, probably the girlfriend in the movie. I feel like that would be an interesting POV to kind of like, you know, see from her POV, like, you know.
See from her perspective, meaning like instead if it was Shaun, it was
hers.
the girlfriend.
Yeah, it was the girlfriend's instead.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to see like her perspective, like, you know, just from like what she imagines, because you know the whole thing's very goofy and it's very played straight, but it's one of those deals where I would love to see like from her perspective what she like thinks of like her boyfriend a bit more and everything like that, you know, and just the whole situation. If you had to pick a different character POV, what would you pick? Like, who would you pick?
I would pick probably his dumb idiot flatmate who doesn't do anything.
So that'd be Eddie.
Eddie. Or I'd like to see it from the standpoint of, unfortunately, spoiler alert for the people who haven't seen the film, is that the other flatmate who got turned into a zombie.
Yes.
Had he not turned into a zombie, I would like to have seen his perspective.
Yes, I kind of wish
on how he would have reacted during the apocalypse.
Yes. I kind of wish his character survived because I loved his character. I thought he was funny.
Yeah.
I forget the actor's name who plays him, but he's like really funny in it, and I was just like, I would love to like, you know, definitely like, you know, see more of his character in the film.
Because he always seems so mad that he was just
He's
like,
so pissed
he's
off.
not doing anything. And I would like to have seen his reaction to, you know, all that happened throughout the movie of the zombies.
Yes, that would have been interesting to see. I would like to see him like be one of the survivors, you know, at least like make it a little bit further in the film than he did,
right?
You know, instead of getting infected, but you know, it happened. Moving on to the next question.
So the next question would be, if this was turned into a video game, what would the gameplay look like?
What do you think?
I think if this was thought out, and it little bit of a spoiler for those who haven't played the game. There was a recent game that just came out, I think about a couple months ago, that paid homage to Shaun of the Dead, which was Funko Fusion. They did a little bit of an Easter egg gameplay in there. But if this was turned into an overall video game where you could play either level by level, I think it would be a great video game. I think you could either do it as a third person or first person. But if you had the right designers and programmers, I think you could make a really great video game of Shaun of the Dead.
I think so too. I think if it was made into a video game, I think it would be like similar to Dead Rising.
Yeah.
Dead Rising, you know, because like the first Dead Rising, like, you know, like that first one where they're in the shopping mall and you can go around and you can like cause havoc and there's different ways that you can kill zombies and like different things like that.
Almost like Left 4 Dead.
Almost like yeah, exactly, yeah. I could see something like that in a comedic like tone, like in that Left 4 Dead like kind of like, or Dead Rising like tone. I could see like something like that, you know, going on. You know, you would have to pick up resources.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
you'd have to pick up resources. You would have to gather weapons, which I would love to, you know, imagine there's different variations of like, you know, like different UK, you know, items that you could get, you know, that would be like weapons.
I think the gameplay too, if you were to turn this into a game, would be, you don't do it in the style of, okay, you just finished the level, you're going, there's a next wave of zombies coming. I would like to see it where they're going to the pub. They're going to the stepfather
Yeah,
stepdad's
they're going
house.
to all those
They're
locations.
going to all the locations and not just
Would you want it to be
wave
like a
after
big like
wave
open
after.
world? Would you want to be like a big like open world?
Oh yeah,
type deal?
it would. I think it would be better with an open world than just set into one level.
Yeah, I think like a big like sandbox would be like really something fun.
Yeah, because you
That'd
can
be,
play
like,
more in the
entertaining.
sandbox.
You can play more with it. You can dabble around. You can do stuff like that. I think that would be really fun for sure. For sure.
Even have some of the scenes from the movie be played in there as cutscenes.
Yes, I think that would be cool. I think that'd be cool. And I think also I'm someone who I love like behind the scenes stuff, especially in video games. I think there should be like an incentive to where like you collect a lot of different items,
Right.
and certain items are like behind the scenes, like footage and
Like Easter eggs.
interviews, yeah, Easter eggs, like interviews, things like that. I think you should definitely also be like gathering up like a group of people. Like you should be gathering up like other survivors and like doing stuff and like trying to survive, comically, and everything. And I think it'd make a really interesting video game for sure. I think it would have made a really interesting game if they would have made it into one of those for sure.
That, and I think that they had lines from the movie in there as well. Like not like the entire movie, but like clippets of lines, like specific lines.
Or
from
they
the
just
movie.
bring the whole cast, just like
If they
bring
had
the whole cast back.
even if they had the cast come back and they wrote lines out for the cast that were paying tribute to the movie, that would be great.
Oh yeah,
too.
no, that'd be great. That'd be great.
So
Let me see. I have one more question left,
okay.
so I'm gonna open it up. What do we got? If you swapped this character into a completely different movie, would they fit? If you swapped this character into a completely different movie, would they fit? So, the main character, Shaun, if you were to swap him into a different movie, would they fit? A completely different movie, would they fit? I think, I don't know, because like you can't, because like it depends on the movie, because it's just like, it's like you can't just like be like, oh, like put him in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because it's like he just doesn't fit.
He's
like,
an idiot.
he's an idiot. Yeah, he's an idiot. Like that's his main like character quirk. So I would say, if you put him in a completely different movie, I feel like he's made specifically, for like any character made specifically for this movie. You could maybe put him in like another like Edgar Wright film, and he would fit like perfectly like in the background or anything like that, or like one of the main.
Yeah.
But I feel like putting him in something else different, I don't think it would work. Like, what's your take on it?
I don't think it would work, because if you try to take the character that was from Shaun of the Dead, and you tried to take Shaun and put his kind of character into a Boris Karloff or a Frankenstein movie or a vampire movie, it just doesn't work, because the humor that
It's so distant.
It's so distant from that, and how do you make that work with either a Frankenstein or a vampire or a werewolf? You can't really do it, because zombies, you could make fun of zombies.
Oh, yeah.
But how do you take that humor and put it into the other element, and those elements into a other monster
The
world?
movie would be completely different.
You would have to rewrite.
It would be like an
entire
Abbott and
movie.
Costello meet Frankenstein
Exactly.
situation, where it's like like the whole movie, like you put those characters in there, and at that point, the movie's not going to be like your traditional like film. It's going to be like a completely different like genre.
That, and also with Shaun of the Dead, you had time to really give sort of backstories of the characters and build up the momentum of the film.
Exactly.
If you do it something like a Frankenstein movie or a werewolf movie or even a vampire movie, I don't feel like you would have that momentum or the time to really give those backstories, because zombies are dumb, so you could really just have time to make fun of those, whereas vampires, and you could do it, but it would really, if done wrong, it doesn't make for a really great comical film. It's just stupidity.
Exactly. No. Exactly. You have one last question
Yeah.
left.
So if Nicolas Cage was the villain, how would the story change?
Listen.
I knew you were gonna ask this question.
Because me and Chris were on the phone last night, and I was telling him all these different questions I was coming up with, and like what I was like kind of like getting, and I was like, oh, a Nicolas Cage question perhaps, and he was just like, I hate Nicolas Cage.
I hate Nicolas Cage.
And I was like, why? It's Nicolas Cage. It's the Cage Man. You know, it's just. And I was sitting back and I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, so there's a chance of him picking for the first episode a card, because I did 4 of them that are Nicolas Cage themed.
I knew in the back of my mind when I said that, I said, God, he's going to write a question. I know he's going to write a question. I say this,
I wrote
and he's
4 of them.
He's going to write a question that's going to involve Nicolas Cage.
I had to. I was like, I couldn't resist it. I was like, I had to. But if Nicolas Cage was what was the card? What did it say?
If Nicolas Cage was the villain, how would the story change?
Oh, jeez. What's your opinion on this?
I think the movie would be very, very cheesy. If Nicolas Cage trying to play Shaun, I mean,
Well, if he's playing like a villain in like the movie, if they had like
if he's playing a villain, I could possibly see it. Like I could see him as the annoyed roommate trying to get rid of, getting annoyed with Shaun for having the other flatmate not do anything.
Oh, yeah,
I could see him play that kind of character, or maybe even the bartender,
maybe the stepdad,
or the stepdad, even like
in some way, shape, or form. Like not even a villain, just like he's just kind of like
if he's playing like the stepdad who then gets turned into a zombie, maybe. But I don't see him being like the main character in
that would
the movie.
be so weird to see.
It would be a very different kind of movie.
It'd be a very different kind of movie because it's just Nicolas Cage just comes in there and he just cuckoo, cuckoo, and he just does like, you don't know the reference. It's Long Legs. It's literally Long Legs. But I was hoping, I was like, please tell me he picks a Nicolas Cage card. And I wanted you to pick it because I didn't want it to be me, because I knew if it was me, I couldn't make it through it. But you read it. I'm so proud. I'm so freaking proud.
I was reading this and I'm like, I knew it. I knew he was gonna put one in.
I knew that son of a gun, he was gonna put one in there. I swear, I'm gonna beat him later. No, I had to. But no, Nicolas Cage. I mean, in this movie, there's not a villain. Like the zombie, like apocalypse and everything. Mm-mm. It's just kind of this, thing that happens. And there's not really a villain, in the film. And so I could have seen Nicolas Cage maybe like making a cameo and maybe like being someone on like the BBC that maybe made a cameo or something and maybe got attacked by zombies.
He
or something
maybe
like
could
that.
play like the news anchor person who was reporting.
I've never heard him do a British accent, so I think he'd be terrible.
And that's the other thing too, is that this was all British done.
Yeah,
so
I
can't picture this American actors coming in and trying to do something like this. Although they did do it with Zombieland. So Woody Harrelson, loved that movie, funny, but you try to do an Americanized version of Shaun of the Dead, and I don't think it could work.
It's weird. It would be, that brings it on to another topic. It's like the idea of like, if this movie was to be remade, but done, it's like kind of like what happened with The Office, where there was the British Office and then there's the American Office. I could see someone coming along and saying, well, let's do the American version of Shaun of the Dead. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like, the movie's fine on its own. Like, you don't need to, like, do anything like that with it.
Right.
Like, I feel like you'd ruin it, honestly. Like, kind of if you were to try to Americanize it or do whatever else. It's like, I don't know why this popped in my brain, but another UK, property, Wallace and Gromit. Yeah. It's like, if you were to make them Americanized, it would ruin their whole like wholesome, like homely vibe that they give off.
Right.
Like, like, gee, lad, just that whole...
The whole creative, the creativity behind it, the animation and everything that goes into creating Wallace and Gromit, like, as you said, it wouldn't work. Because if you try to, again, not knocking Americans here, but you try to Americanize a famous show like Wallace and Gromit, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like It's like, for instance, like Faulty Towers. Like Faulty Towers is a great show that works on its own, but they've tried to Americanize that multiple times.
They tried to redo it 3 times.
Yeah,
they tried to do an
that
Americanized version. They did it an American version. They tried to do another show called Are You Being Served, and I think 2 others, and it all
backfired.
It all backfired
because it just didn't work. So I mean, but Shaun of the Dead, I had never seen it before. You showed it to me. So this was brand new for me. So I was flabbergasted by some of the gore and some of the stuff going on, but how goofy it was and everything. I was like, okay. I gotcha. Then we watched Hot Fuzz because you had because it's a 2-pack.
It was a 2-pack.
So I was like, let's watch the Hot Fuzz, and so which Hot Fuzz we'll talk about at some point in the future. We'll talk about that movie too, because that's a fun one too.
And for people who don't know, the Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and the other movie they did at World's End was part of the Cornetto trilogy. So it was a trilogy they did, but unlike Godfather or Pirates of the Caribbean and Lord of the Rings, they don't really go. There's no specific order to watch them, and the films don't really connect. Other than
there's just references.
It's just references to each other,
and it's the same actors. And that's the thing. It's like they have main one is like Simon Pegg is in them,
and Nick
Frost is in them. So that's the big seller right there, is that they continue on through the films.
Mm-hmm.
But Shaun of the Dead. I gotta say I quite enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really fun. It was definitely something that I just love the humor of it. I love how it just it mocked, it had some serious moments, but then it had comedy mixed in between, and I just had a good time with it. I just thought it was funny.
I also think too, with that kind of film, there wasn't really any time in the film where it slowed down. It was a very nice paced film where you didn't really, in other films that I've seen, you have parts that are just lagging in the storytelling, or you have parts where it's too fast paced and you didn't take time to cover that character or explain the character.
Yeah.
So with something like Shaun of the Dead, I feel like, again, they went and had great character introductions. You pretty much know where they're coming from, and then the whole pace of the movie was nicely paced where you knew what was going on.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a really, I thought it was a well done comedy. And I can see now why people, talk about it so much.
Mm-hmm.
That and Hot Fuzz, I can see why both movies are talked about highly, because they're just funny.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the brilliant scenes in that movie was, spoiler alert again for people who haven't seen the movie, is that they are in the bar, the Winchester, and they are facing the zombies. And for some odd reason, Queen comes on the jukebox. And Queen just starts playing as they're fighting the zombies, which I think is a brilliant piece of writing in the script.
And as they're hitting the one zombie with the
wiffle bat
the wiffle bat. No, it's the pool sticks.
Or the pool sticks.
The pool sticks.
Yes.
They're doing it in the beat of the music.
In the beat of the music.
And it's just I'm just watching this and I'm like, wow.
They're doing it into the beat of "Don't Stop Me Now," and
it's so great.
Whoever put that in there is genius.
No, it's funny. I loved it. I was like, I'm a sucker for Queen, so this was like, yes, do it, play it.
Or the fact that you have another brilliant piece of writing was the fact that they're on their way home from the pub when I think the first outbreak of the zombie virus breaks out, and they see one of them walking toward them. And the two of them are just walking along, and they don't really know what's going on, but then they just hear the zombie, and they turn to each other like dubba 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 dubba, ooh, and that
the zombie goes ooh.
That whole scene was absolute brilliance, because it's a comedy. You don't really see that sort of thing in a regular horror zombie film.
No, you really don't. And
The jokes were brilliantly written and executed.
no, it was just a real good time. And overall, like what would you out of we haven't talked about this, but what would you rate it? Like, would you do like out of 10, or would you do like would you do like out of like 4 stars or like 5 stars? Or what would you do?
I would probably give it probably a 9.5. Like
Nine and
not
a
a
half?
full on 10, like
Not a full on 10.
but it is one of my favorite movies. But
Mhm.
I would say probably either an 8 or 9.5
Gotcha.
star because it was again a very brilliant executed film.
I'd give it like a 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
Like it for me, like it was entertaining. I had a good time with it and everything, and I was disappointed that we weren't able to do like Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion,
Right.
But we were able to watch something else because thankfully you have movies here because physical media thankfully isn't completely dead, so there's like people that still own stuff, and you thankfully had stuff here, and I was like, thank God, because that would have sucked because then we would have been just sitting here just like, well, I guess the series is gonna be about us just like twiddling our thumbs.
Yeah.
Just like you twiddle yours and I twiddle mine, and
Sitting here twiddling the ear.
twiddling the air. But yeah, no. I would say like strong like 7.5. You rated it an 8. You said
It was an 8.5.
8.5. Okay.
8.5 or 9, just because like again I did see some parts of the movie that they could have done a little bit better on, but again for a B-rated movie, a knockoff of Dawn of the Dead, it was, and I've never seen Dawn of the Dead because I don't do well with actual horror, but for a comedy film spin-off, I thought it was a really good film.
I thought it was a good time, and overall, just thank you, Chris, for showing me the movie.
You're welcome.
I appreciated seeing it, and I think that's gonna be it for our first episode. Thank you guys for listening, yeah, just hopefully you guys enjoyed, had a good time, and what's your opinion on the movie? Have you seen Shaun of the Dead? What do you think about it? What would you rate it? What was your favorite scene from the movie? What was like your favorite performance, or something from the film?
Also, let us know in the comments what movies you want us to review.
Yeah, I completely didn't even think of it. Thank
And
you,
please
guys.
hit the like and subscribe button.
Like, subscribe, let us know what other movies you want us to talk about, and we will get to them when we can. All right, see y'all.
Bye.